In this Photoshop exercise, we're going to create this light burst effect, and thanks to PhotoshopEssentials.com for the tutorial. I'm just going to close this off and create a new document. File menu, new. I'm just going to use the web preset, 640 pixels wide, 480 high at 72 pixels per inch. Click OK. First thing I need to do is save the file. That's a good habit to get into. Light burst. Click save and we're ready to go. Step number 2, we're going to add some text. Just going to grab the type tool, drag out a little rectangle, and I'm going to type in light burst with the caps lock down. Light burst. Just going to grab hold of the bottom right hand corner of this little text box so I can resize the text to let it flow to the second line. I'm just going to hit enter, and then I'm going to resize the text using the free transform tool. Grab hold of the arrow. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to go Command T. That brings up the transform tool. If I was on a PC, I would be holding down Control T to bring this up. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions and drag out the text just a little bit bigger and pop it in the center there somewhere. Hit the enter key. Remember, you can also get at the transform tool by going up to the edit menu and go to transform, and in this case we'd want to scale the text. You can move it around and you can grab a corner and scale it. If you're going to do that, remember, hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions. Anyway, that's probably where I want it to be, so I'm going to hit the enter key and just leave that. Step number 4, I'm going to rasterize the text. At the moment it's editable text. I don't want it to be editable, I want it just to be made out of pixels, so I'm going to go over to the layers menu and I'm going to rasterize it. Notice the thumbnail has got a white background. What's going to happen is when I rasterize this, we're going to see the checkerboard indicating that this layer is now capable of having a transparent background if we erase anything from it. Let's go to rasterize type. There's our checkerboard in the thumbnail. Step number 5, we want to add a selection around the text and save the selection. The way we're going to do that is directly on the thumbnail in the layers palette. I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hold down the command key and click on the layer thumbnail. If I was on a PC, it would be control click. You'll see the dancing ants around the light burst in the main window. That tells us we've got a selection. I'm going to go up to the select menu and we're going to save that selection. I'm just going to call it light burst selection so we can find it later on. Click OK. If we looked over here in the channels palette, in addition to red, green and blue channel, we'd see the selection as a 4th channel known as an alpha channel. We're going to load that up again later on in step 24. Turn RGB back on so we're operating in the red, green and blue channels. Step number 6, we're going to use the fill command to fill this layer with white and set the blend mode to multiply. So back onto the layers palette, make sure I've got the light burst rasterized text layer selected, and I'm going to go up to the edit menu and I'm going to select fill. Contents, use white. Blending mode, we've set it to multiply, and click OK. Now you won't really see any change in that doesn't matter. I'm going to take this opportunity just to quickly save what we've done. We've already given it a name, so we just go to save. Just do that periodically in case the power goes off or something or other. You don't want to lose your work. Step number 7, we're going to apply a Gaussian blur filter to this text. So up to the filter menu and we go to blur, Gaussian blur, and this radius of about 4 pixels is fine. We perhaps don't want anything else, it's a bit too much, that's probably not enough, so around about 4 is okay. Next thing we want to do is add a solarize filter to the text. So we're going to go up to the filter menu. I'm in Photoshop CS5, so I'm going to go to Stylize and go down to Solarize. Gives us this effect. Not looking too bad, but what we want to do is lighten this up a bit with a levels filter. So we're going to go up to the image menu, and we're going to go to adjustments, and we're going to go to levels. The Macintosh shortcut is Command L. On the PC it's Control L. You'll see this histogram here where it says input levels in the big white rectangle, and the little black bit at the bottom here is the distribution of light and dark across this image. What I need to do is go and grab the little triangle at the right hand side, which is the white point triangle, and I'm going to drag that towards the left until I get it to the right hand side of the histogram, which is about here in the middle. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to click OK. Text should now appear to be much lighter. Next thing I need to do is make a copy of the text layer. So I'm going back to the layers menu. There's a couple of ways I can do this. I can just grab the layer and I can drag it over the Make New Layer gadget. And there's our copy. I'm just going to get rid of it for a moment, because the other way I can do this, yes, I'll delete that. The other way I can do this is just with a keyboard shortcut. On the Mac, it's just Command J. On the PC, it's Control J. Step number 11, we're going to apply polar coordinates to this text. Got to make sure that the copy layer is selected, not the original. So we go up here to the filter menu, and we go to distort, we go down here, and we go to polar coordinates. What we want to do is go polar to rectangular. So I'm going to click on that radio button, polar to rectangular, click OK, and it produces this rather strange looking effect. Next thing I want to do is rotate the canvas 90 degrees clockwise. So up here, image rotation 90 degrees clockwise. We want to invert the image, that is to say we want the blacks to be white and the whites to be black. Keyboard shortcut for that on the Mac is Command I or Control I on Windows. All our whites become black and our blacks become white. Next thing I need to do is apply the wind filter to it. So I'm going to go up to Filter. We're going to go to Stylize, Wind. Now the settings that we want, the method is wind, direction from the right. I'm going to click OK. We need to apply this filter twice more for a total of 3 times. Now we can just click the keyboard shortcut Control F on Windows or Command F on the Mac twice, or else we can just go up here to the filter menu and we can go wind. That's the second time. I need it 3 times, so I'm just going to do it again for a 3rd time. Step 15, I need to invert the image again. Command I on the Mac, Control I on the PC. Step 16, we're going to apply that wind filter 3 more times. So back to the filter menu, wind once, wind twice, wind 3rd time. Step 17, we're going to brighten the image again using levels, but we're going to let Photoshop do the job by doing it automatically. So to do that, we're going to hold down Shift Command L on the Mac or Shift Control L on Windows, and Photoshop has automatically brightened that image up a bit. Step 18, rotate the canvas back the way it was. We're going to go counterclockwise this time, 90 degrees. Step number 19, filter, distort, polar coordinates. When we used this filter before, we went from polar to rectangular. This time we're going to do it the other way around. We're going to go rectangular to polar. Step number 20, we're going to go to our layers palette, and with our light burst copy, we're going to go up here where all the blend modes are. It's on normal at the moment. We're going to go down to screen. That should reveal the original text layer underneath. This one here, the original light burst, is now being revealed through this top layer because we've got it set to screen. Step 21, we want to apply a gradient fill to add some colour, making sure we've got our light burst copy layer selected. Let me just move this layer so you can see what I'm doing. We want to go down here to gradient. We're going to click on this little rectangular gradient area and it'll bring up our gradient editor. What we're going to select is the one in the top left hand corner. If I hover the mouse over there, a little message will pop up and it'll say foreground to background. Now we need to change these from the defaults, whatever we've got selected, probably black and white. So what we're going to do, we're going to go down to this little triangle here just above the word stops. And I'm going to click on that and I'm going to go to colour down the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to change that to a kind of reddy orange colour. So let's do that. Let's go for something that's sort of a reddish orangey colour, something like that. Click OK. Now the one down the other end, which is currently white on the right hand side down the bottom here, colour stop, I'm going to change that to another orange colour, but a sort of a more yellowy orange. So maybe a sort of a more goldy looking colour, something up here like that. Click OK. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to click OK and click OK again. Now if I look in my layers palette, I should see a little thumbnail of this gradient fill looking like the colours that I just applied, and it's sitting on top of the light burst copy layer. So what I need to do is to change the blend mode of this gradient fill from normal to colour, so I'll see the layers underneath. So I'm going to go right down the bottom there, almost to the bottom anyway, to colour, and that should reveal my layers underneath, or parts of them anyway, and apply this gradient fill to them. Step number 23, we're going to apply a radial blur to the original text layer. So that's this layer here, the original light burst layer. We're going to apply a radial blur to that. So we're going to go up to the filter menu. I'm going to go to blur. I'm going to go to radial blur. And we're going to select blur method zoom, quality best, and the amount that we're going to dial in is going to be up around about 65. So let's try that. I'm going to click OK. Step number 24, way back we made a selection of the text, and we're going to actually load that selection back in. So we're going to go up to select, load selection, and in the channel we've got light burst transparency showing at the moment. We don't actually want that, we want this light burst selection. That's the name of the selection that we created ourselves earlier on. Going to click OK, loads up the selection that says light burst. There's another way that you can do this selection. I'm just going to deselect that and show you the other way of doing it. We go to the channels palette and we click on the light burst selection to this little gadget, and it loads the channel as a selection. I'm just going to go back and turn on RGB, and you'll see the same effect. Dancing ants, light burst. Now step 25, we're nearly done. We need to fill the selection with black. Make sure back in the layers palette we have the original text layer selected, not the copy, but the original. Then go Option Delete on the Mac, on the PC Alt Backspace. Last thing I need to do is press Control D on the PC or Command D on the Mac, deselect, and there we have it. Last thing to do, of course, save. And that's it.